guys, welcome back to Cadence RC. Hey, so recently had talked about RC racing and what the sport might need to do to make itself bigger. I was watching and here I am. I'm gonna forget their names again. No Name RC, which is Lefty and Ryan Harris were having a discussion. I don't know, a couple weeks ago, just about RC racing in general, and you know what RC racing could do to build itself up. And I recently had done my little video showing off my little doing a little bit of running with my SEX 24 base camp, and just kind of talking about that a little bit and my experience with racing bicycles, and obviously I've been racing RC cars now for a bit, and I've had a little bit of time to think about, you know, what does RC racing need to do to make itself more than it currently is, right? And it's really, I actually was looking a lot at racing on the bigger scale, right? On racing, full-size car racing, and I was thinking a lot about what I know about like SCCA racing and versus IMSA, and you know, go-kart racing, and obviously like the transitions into, you know, like oval racing, obviously, you know, how it works on a grassroots level, and building up to being a NASCAR driver, or Formula One driver, or driving an LMP1 car, you know, all the big sports cars, right? And how do we graduate from being the sport that largely caters to a grassroots market to maybe being something that can also, right? Because one of the beautiful things about RC racing is it's fairly inexpensive, right? You can get into, these are a huge class. These are like $180 for a Mini B. You know, you can do brushless, brushed. You can get into racing for really inexpensive and get out there and have a great time. And so one of the great things about RC racing in general is that it's super inclusive, and that everybody has that opportunity to be able to be part of it, because it is a sport that even, you know, at the most financially strapped, pretty much anybody can afford to get into RC racing at some level, and which is amazing, because that's not something that can be said. I know a fair amount about the big car world, and what it actually costs, and just due to family that's actually been involved in that, and so yeah, it is interesting, you know, when you think about again grassroots racing and really what RC racing is, and losing myself here, but yeah, how cool that is. So as I got to thinking about it, you know, I was kind of drawing some comparisons in my mind to, so I mentioned SCCA versus IMSA, and you look at what SCCA is as a full-size car racing group. You know, you've got your you know, the autocross, and like your solo nationals. You get into all the Miata, you know, spec classes, and BMW spec classes, E35 or E36, E37, you know, all the different classes, E46 classes of those types of racing, your Mustang races, and that's kind of the pathway, which is really largely that organization is largely based around grassroots racing, which is very much similar to what we have with RC racing. And I was thinking about the difference between that and you know, your pathways into Formula One, your pathways into NASCAR. Obviously NASCAR has kind of a, you know, there's the grassroots experience, but you know, you're going to start with, you know, you're always going to be starting with the oval car, right? Whether you're racing dirt oval, and you're racing like midgets, and you know, starting out with the karts and working your way up to the different midgets, and you know, getting into stock cars and modifieds and all of those cars. Just like we see, one of the beautiful things about RC is we have all of those cars available as well, which is so cool. But you know, your pathway is super set. You know that your aim is to get into a stock car and work your way to NASCAR. and there is no question of how you're going to how you're going to follow that pathway. If you're going to race in Formula One, I think everybody knows that you're going to start out racing a go-kart, and you're going to hopefully graduate from there to Formula 4, Formula Ford, you know, through some of those different classes, Formula 4000, depending on where you are in the country. And then you're going to graduate to Formula 3, Formula 2, Formula 1. And again, the pathway is super, super clear. We know exactly where we're going to be. And as I was thinking about, you know, so IMSA, and just to throw it out there, it's kind of the same. It's a little bit less clear, but you're also going to start out with a go-kart, and you're going to work your way into racing like an ST class. You know, if you're racing the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship Series, and hopefully work your way from that to the GT class, and then into the bigger classes of that as well. So the pathways, again, pretty clear, and those are the sports that we watch on TV. And you know, it's definitely not a put down, because I think all of racing is so amazing, but nobody's watching Spec Miata. Like, that's not a class that anybody in the world is watching on national television, and it's just not. And that's okay, right? And I feel like that's kind of the same spot where you know, obviously the racers watch. The racers are going to watch all of that stuff because they care. I'm talking the general public, and I feel like RC is kind of at that same spot. And so, you know, I was thinking about, like, what do you do that's different? What do those sports? What does Formula One and NASCAR do that's different than RC racing? And you know, and I used the analog of bicycle racing, and I got to thinking about one of the things that I think is very different. I was thinking about the Chili Bowl. You know, I watched so much of that footage from last year as it came through, and like how much, you know, you watch all the amateurs, and you watch all the people, and they're racing on the same track at, you know, at the same time, right? You've got your pros lining up after your novice drivers. Like, they're all out there essentially at the same time, and it's very inclusive, which is amazing. And an experience that I got to have when I was racing BMX is I only did one national. I did that around 1999-ish would be my guess, maybe 2000. And I went down to Reno. At the time, it was the Blackjack National. At the time, it was the largest national of all time. There were 7,000 competitors. I raced, so on the Saturday, the biggest day, of course, I raced my first qualifier at 11 o'clock in the morning. I was having my 7th, 8th, and 9th races that weekend in 20-inch. I had raced 24-inch, you know, cruiser class for a few years, but I was a novice BMX racer having my 7th, 8th, and 9th races on a 20-inch BMX bike. I'm at that national, and 7,000 other competitors. It took 12 hours to go from, so 11 o'clock in the morning, I did my first qualifier. I actually transferred out of that qualifier into the main event, so I had 12 hours to do nothing but go through a whole bunch of cycles of being amped up and excited, and absolutely blew it in the main event. Definitely had the speed. Doesn't matter if you got the speed if you cram into the gate because you're way too excited, and that's exactly what I did. But what was interesting to me about that event is and again, amazing, because we did get to run at the same time as the best guys in the world, right? So just like I was saying with the Chili Bowl, I literally was standing in line behind John Purse. And anybody that knows anything about the BMX world and BMX history, John Purse is the winningest BMX racer of all time. He is one of the biggest stars in the BMX world, and I'm not even kidding you. I'm standing with my bicycle behind him. He lines up for the gate. I've got my tire up to the gate so that I can move up behind him so that I can do my race, and I'm literally on the track at the same time as the fastest AA pros in the world, as a guy running his 7th, 8th, and 9th race in BMX. And here's the problem with that. Nobody wanted to see me race. Everybody that was there as a spectator, which there were none, right? Because it's all just like with RC, it's us. We're the spectators. The competitors are the spectators. But nobody wanted to see me race. Everybody wanted to see the AA pros race. Nobody wanted to see me race. And then that really got me thinking about what really I think is the biggest thing that that RC racing can do to build itself up from a viewer's standpoint is separate the pros from the amateurs. So if you had an event like this, right, and this is just me spitballing, you never know, maybe this video someday sparks somebody's mind and go, oh, wait a minute, maybe we could do something slightly different. But in my thinking, if you're having this event, right, the Chili Bowl, and you've got 5 days, 6, 7 days of racing, it's a lot to take in. Obviously, you're not going to get spectators for that. It's just too much. And but if you had it set up so that all of your A mains, and pro class, so your pro class only, were set up to race on that last day, you might get spectators for that last day. And I think that would be the difference of being able to push, I hate to say push me out, right? Push the amateur and the regular guy, the guy that's lining up on the track right behind John Purse, the winningest BMX racer of all time. But not to push me away, but to push me to a previous day, so that the spectators aren't watching me race; they're watching the best guys in the world. And anyway, it's funny just thinking about RC racing and racing in general, and what do you do to make it more spectator friendly and more interesting for people that maybe have a passing interest. But and again, I think that the fact that RC racing is so inclusive is super incredible. I mean, this weekend I went out and I had the biggest RC racing weekend of my life. We ran one RC cars, 18 scale cars, and then the Losi NASCAR on Friday. And Saturday I went and did some just free running with friends at Hobbytown and ran the Mini Z cars. And then that evening we went and ran the drag cars, and then I went and raced my stadium truck in our big main track out at Eagle Hills Raceway. And had an absolute blast, and it is really special that being able to get out and run. Those one RC cars are like $220. They're a complete car. They come with a battery. They come with the whole setup, and you're so you can be racing for hardly anything. I think a typical transponder for those series is like $30. So the point of entry is very low, and they're super fun to drive, and that's an opportunity to hone your skills and learn. Become a better driver, and we have that in this world, but and we need that at every level, right? Because as I said, even like the Formula One drivers, I mean, they're getting a go-kart and they're getting started on that, and obviously the point of entry for a go-kart is more expensive than what you have with an RC car, but it's not that bad. You can get I know for a fact that you can get into the non-shifter carts, the more entry-level racer level for $2,500, $3,500 for a used car, for a good car. Those things will go like 70 miles an hour, which you're sitting 3 inches off the ground is stupidly fast. Your graduation from that into a shifter cart, you can get a used cart for like $4,500, $5,000, somewhere in there. You can be racing those things, and it is actually it's still hard. That's definitely not $175 or $220 for a car that you can go out and race like you can with RC, but it is cool. And then it gets less accessible as you move forward, right? And build into, big open wheel cars are obviously very expensive to operate, and that's where you get into big sponsors and getting your name out there and making, you're definitely achieving goals when you get to step into a Formula 3 car or Formula 4 car. Like, you've done something special, and that is special. But yeah, I think the same thing should be said for racing the Sunday or Saturday main event day. Like, if you've made it to that level and you get to be there, you've done something special. Anyway, silly conversation that means nothing, but it's fun to talk about, and I can't wait to see you guys in the next videos. These kind of videos are actually really fun to make and think about, and like shout out to who operates this? This is LiveRC. This is footage of the 2025 RC Chili Bowl that we're showing, main events day, and how cool is RC racing that we do get to do all of this. So yeah, again, thank you for watching my video, and I can't wait to see you in the next.